Hello again. Today we're going to do simple interest. I have a chart to help visualize what's happening, and I have a number of practice questions to help you become fully comfortable with the concept. So without further ado, let's get started. Simple interest. And that's supposed to be money over here on the right. Use your imagination. There's a formula for simple interest. It's I equals PRT. The I in I equals PRT stands for interest. Now, interest is how much money you either pay or receive, depending on whether the principal is an investment or a loan. So this is the interest. The P is the principal. This is the amount that you invest or you borrow. The R stands for rate, and this is always expressed as a decimal. This is like your interest rate. We always move the decimal 2 places when converting from percent to decimal. And if you're not sure which direction to move the decimal, just think money. If I were to write 50%, the decimal is right here. If you think money, what is 50% of a dollar? It's 50 cents. And you can see which direction the decimal moves. If you're going from a percent to a decimal, you're going to move it 2 places to the left. If you're going from a decimal to a percent, then you're going to bounce it 2 places to the right. It always moves 2 places. And if you forget which direction, just think 50% and 50 cents. And lastly, we have T, which stands for time, and that's in years. It's often the most tricky part of a GED question. A GED type question may give you the number of days, months, or years as a mixed number or fraction. Properly converting the time to years is key to getting the correct answer. And we'll do some examples here in a little bit. So this is a pyramid that I learned about on YouTube. It shows interest at the top and PRT. And if you remember, that is our formula for simple interest. I, which is at the top, equals PRT. Now what makes this pyramid interesting is not always will you be asked the question, what is the interest? You may be asked, what is the principal? And the easiest way to do that with this pyramid is to simply remove the P, and what you're left with is I over RT, which is right here. Also, if the question is asking you what the rate is, what is the interest rate, you can pull the R out and you're left with I over PT, or I divided by P times T. Likewise, if you're trying to find how much time the loan was for or the investment was for, then you can pull the T out and you have I over PR, or interest divided by principal times rate. So let's do some examples. Here's a simple one. $375 at 2.1% for 66 months. So it wants to know what our interest is. So we don't know the I, so we can put I equals, and what is our principal? Well, our principal is $375. It doesn't tell us if it's a loan or an investment, but $375 is still the principal. So we can say 375 times 2.1%. Well, what is that as a decimal? We're going to bounce the decimal point 2 places to the left. So we're going to say times 0.021. I move the decimal 2 places. 1, 2. So 0.021 times 66 months. Now it has to be in years. So how do we determine years from 66 months? Well, the easiest way is you just put the months over how many months is in a year, which is 12. And you might be thinking, what in the heck is that? Well, what's 66 divided by 12? We could do it longhand, or we can use our calculators. That's what they're for. So 66 divided by 12 is 5.5. So 66 months is 5.5 years. And then all we do is multiply these together. So 375 times 0.021 times 5.5, and the interest 43.31 goes out to 2.5. Well, it's money, and so for rounding it just stay $43.31. What is the total amount? In that case, you would take the 43 and you would add back the 375, and then you would get total of $418.31. So be aware of what it's actually asking you. If it's asking you for interest, then the interest was $43.31. If it's asking you for the total amount, then it's $418.31, because you have to take your principal and add the interest to it. Let's look at another one. Okay, so this one here, it's a word problem. It looks complicated. So let's try it. Shaggy wanted a new stereo system in the Mystery Machine. He took a loan out for $2,000 at an interest rate of 18.65%. It took him 54 months to pay the loan off. Based on the information, what was the total amount that Shaggy paid the bank? So what is the question actually asking you? It says, based on the information, what was the total amount that Shaggy paid to the bank? So we're going to have to figure out what the interest is and then add it to the principal. And the principal in this case is $2,000. So we know for principal, we can put $2,000. The interest rate is 18.65%. Well, I'm going to change it up. I'm going to put X for times. So times 18.65% is really 0.1865 as a decimal. Remember, we bounced that decimal 2 places. Times 54 months. Well, I'm going to write out here 54 months. And I'm going to put it over 12 because that's how many months are in a year. So 54 divided by 12 is 4.5, or 4.5 years. Now that's going to give us the interest. So let's do the math. 2,000 times 0.1865 times 4.5 equals $1,678.50. But they want the total amount. So we need to add the principal here to the interest to figure out what the total amount that Shaggy paid for the stereo system in the Mystery Machine. So we can add 2,000 to this, and this is a very simple addition problem. So the total amount that Shaggy paid for this loan was $3,678.50. $1,678.50 of that was all interest. Fred finally sold his footmobile and deposited the $930 into a savings account. He earned 9.7% interest until he withdrew it all out 3.5 years later. Based on the information, how much money did Fred withdraw? So, what exactly is it looking for? Based on the information, how much money did Fred withdraw? We want to know how much total amount he withdrew. He deposited $930 of principal, and he kept it in there for 3.5 years at an interest rate of 9.7%. So let's go ahead and plug in the numbers. $930 times 9.7% is 0.097 times 3.5 years. Well, let's write that as a decimal. That would simply be 3.5. That's going to give us our interest only. We'll have to add whatever we get back to the principal to get the total amount that Fred, Mr. Flintstone, actually withdrew. So 930 times 0.097 times 3.5, and this equals $315 and 73.5. We'll just round that up to 74. Now, once we get the interest here, we're going to need to add it back to the principal of $930 to find out exactly how much money Fred was able to withdraw from his investment. So we're going to add the 930 to it. So Fred deposited $930 for 3.5 years at 9.7% interest, and at the end of those 3.5 years, he withdrew $1,245.74. Not too shabby. Let's take a look at another one. Okay, on this question, it says someone paid a total of $259.54 on a loan for $150 that took him 5 3/4 years to pay off. What was the interest rate? So it's not asking for the interest, it's asking for the actual interest rate. So the easiest way to do this is let's first figure out what was the interest. The total was $259. $259 and 54 cents. And we need to subtract the actual loan amount of $150. And what this is going to do is give us just our interest. Right now we have the interest plus the loan amount, and we just want the interest so we can use our formula. So we end up with $109.54 of interest. We also know that it was 5 3/4 years. So we could convert this to a decimal. 5 3/4 is just 5.75. And so now we need to know what the interest rate is. Well, if you remember the pyramid, what are we looking for? We're looking for the interest rate. So if we pull this R out, this is the new formula that we need. We need the interest rate equals interest over principal times time. So our rate equals our interest over principal times time. Our principal is 150 times time, which is 5.75, and our interest is 109.54. So our first step is let's multiply the $150 times 5.75. So 150 times 5.75, that equals $862.50. And then we have the 109.54 on top still, which is our actual interest that he had to pay. So let's do the math. We have 109.54 divided by 862.5. And I get an answer of rate equals 0.1270028. Well, this is a decimal. I'm going to bounce it 2 places to get my percent. And by rounding, I can comfortably say that the interest rate on that loan was 12.7%. Little trickier when they ask you for something other than the interest or the total payoff. Let's look at one more. A person invested $200 at an interest rate of 5.9%. She then collected on the investment, making a total of $220.65. How long was her money invested? In years. So we need to know the time. Well, if you remember our pyramid, I over PRT. So if we want to pull out the T, what's left on the top? Well, it's always going to be interest on the top, and then PR. We know 220.65 minus 200 would give us the interest. That's pretty simple. That's just $20.65, because $220.65 minus $200 is $20.65. What's the principal? The principal amount was 200. And we're going to multiply that by the rate. The rate is 5.9, or 0.059 as a decimal. Let's first multiply the 200 times 0.059. That gives us 11.8. I'm going to actually move it over here. And on top we have 20.65. And now all we have to do is 20.65 divided by 11.8. And our answer, I'm just going to put it over here, is 1.75. And this is time. So this would be 1.75 years. And that is our answer. The best way to become more proficient at simple interest is to practice. Thanks for watching and have a great day.